Well, you know what time it is. Well, it's early in the
Adventure
morning,
time.
late out. That is true. It's late morning, late evening for the West Coasters out there. But no matter what time it is, it's final whistle time. No matter where you're at, East Coast, West Coast, all those other coasties. It's final whistle time, and there's only one place that the final whistle is, and it's here on our channels. So get here right away because we had a lot of things happen today, and we're here to talk about it. Like, for example, what the heck kind of disaster took place in Oklahoma tonight? Or Kansas playing spoiler in the Big 12? Or Ohio State stomping a mud hole in Indiana? Or Penn State surviving the Gophers? Or Louisville stopping a mud hole in Pitt? We'll talk about all that. And yes, we'll talk about you, Michigan State beating Purdue. And if you want a cookie, now shoot, shoot, shoot. That's all you get tonight. But I couldn't. Yes, that's enough publicity. Shoot. Good job. But we're going to talk about all that and more tonight. And I'm not going to be the only one talking about it because you know how this works. This is a two-man booth here. I cannot do this by myself. I need my partner in crime, Jackson Johnson. I would ask how are you, but I think I know the answer, but I'm going to
I'm
anyway.
all
How are
right.
you? Good?
I'm all right for the events that occurred. How you doing tonight, good buddy?
Pretty good. It was a fun day of upsets. I'll say that. I mean, now it's on to rivalry week. Well, not yet. Once we get done reviewing this, but yes, it's final whistle time. Are you ready to jump into it, good buddy?
I'm all set. And Notre Dame obliterated the Army Black Knights 49-14 at Yankee Stadium. And holy Toledo, it was wild. Notre Dame is basically one win away from clinching a playoff berth for the 2024 season and in the third season of Marcus Freeman. And it's funny though about because like Jeffrey and I talked a little bit about perception in tonight's edition of the Alabama Oklahoma postgame show. Perception, because Marcus Freeman, hot seat coach after Northern Illinois loss, right? And what was happening with Northern Illinois' coach? He was going on every show you could find. Heck, he was on he was even on Jason Whitlock's show on Blaze TV, well, whatever that show was, and he was on Barstool Sports. He was on Dan Patrick. He was on Pat McAfee. He was on everything you could find, plastered all over your screen. But it didn't matter because they went on a losing streak here and there. They were up and down. But Notre Dame has been going on a humongous win streak afterwards. And 1-2 ask us, is Army no good or is Notre Dame great? Well, if you can bounce back from a humongous loss to Northern Illinois, such as Notre Dame has by just obliterating all your opponents, I could say, well, you're a pretty good team. Yeah. But what do you think, Austin?
I'll say this. I mean, the perception coming out of this game is probably going to be, oh, Army's no good. This is what happens when you play a legitimate defense. Here's the thing. I feel like when you're an academy team and you just run the ball, teams are gonna figure that out. Like, if you've got a good front seven, you're gonna be able to stop that more times than not. But when you play those front sevens that aren't very good, that aren't very talented and have depth, you can run all over them. Notre Dame's not a front seven that you can just run on. Like, all the teams they play this year, not many of them have been able to get the run game going on them. Like, it's one of those things they just don't allow it. If you're going to beat them, you're going to beat them through the air. It's just how it works. But I'm like Jackson. I think this is a good win for Notre Dame. They're one win away from a playoff berth. Just don't blow it to USC and Notre Dame. I think you've got a spot. I think.
They should. Might as well address this game.
Keyword should, Jackson. Oh, yes. Let's get that. Well, let's start the healing, Jackson. But Are you okay, good buddy?
Oh,
Let's
I'm
start
all
there.
right. I mean, it's part of life. I mean, dealing with disappointment, dealing with things you don't want to deal with. I mean, that's just part of life. And unfortunately, we didn't put out a lot of good effort against the Oklahoma Sooners. And, Oklahoma, they had a huge bowl streak that was on the line tonight. They were like, crap, it could end if we lose on senior night. Well, they did. They pulled it off. And I think I had Oklahoma beating Alabama in the preseason. I just didn't think they'd be 5-5 going in that game. I thought it was going to be Georgia. I think I had Georgia and Oklahoma beating us. I just didn't think it was going to be this. What was this? 24-3. My God.
Jackson, I know this is your team, but I want to put this out here, and I want to say this. What I saw tonight was pathetic. Like, Jackson, you're Alabama football. If Nick Saban was out there tonight, what do you think he would think about this team? Like, what's he like logistically? Like, if Nick Saban was out there, this wouldn't have flown. And I'm not going to say, oh, Kalen DeBoer's a bad coach, need to fire him.
Yeah.
I'm not saying none of that. But here's the thing. Where is the discipline, huh? Where was the energy? Like, Alabama, did they just forget how to run the ball? Did they forget how to pass the ball? I mean, Milroe throwing pick sixes, giving me flashbacks to the Texas game a couple years ago. Or last year, excuse me.
Uh-huh.
Like, what exactly was that out there tonight, Jackson? Please explain that to me, because that was not Alabama football.
It was a failure to communicate.
Jackson, I felt like I was watching a team that didn't know how to play football tonight. They were not fundamentally sound. Like, everything that they had done to build up this great success just looked like they just threw it out the window. And I got to say this. For all the Sooner fans that were ready to throw Brent Venables out with the bathwater, as you say, Jackson, they might want to rethink that decision, because
I think honestly they are, because it was like I talked with Jeffrey tonight that I think that the 2024 Oklahoma team is much similar to the 2010 Clemson team, where it was not a good season, a mediocre year. Everybody's calling for the coach to get fired already. And I'm thinking Oklahoma's going to go the same route that Clemson did. They're going to be like, we want stability. And I think we can get it done with Brent Venables. He is our guy for the future. And I'm comparing him to his former boss, Dabo Swinney, in that light, because it was like, you remember a lot of people were down on Dabo during 2010, after 2010. It was pretty ugly. We traveled that far on the road. We traveled to Wisconsin this year.
Yeah, that's a pretty good travel, I think, for Bama. You want to know something that's ironic, Jackson? It was Brent Venables, who's a defensive coach at Clemson. What won Oklahoma this game tonight? Defense. If Brent Venables can just find him somebody to develop his offense, and somebody to recruit a decently good quarterback, or teach Jackson Arnold a better way to play, or Michael Hawkins, whoever they decide to run with, Oklahoma could be a top 10 team. Like, you see the defense, they're studs over there. Like, they have a really good defense. If they can just figure out their offensive mess that they've got going on, I think Oklahoma could be a contender in the SEC next year. I really do. If they could just figure out how not to play bad football on offense.
Yeah.
And 1-2 says, sorry, but I can't see any good reason for Alabama to be in the playoff discussion. I'm a pretty good Alabama fan. And this is what the conversation is going to be, because everyone's going to think, okay, it's Alabama. They're never out of the discussion. And Jackson, you could say more to this than I can, because you've seen more of this situation come up than I have. But Jackson, could you see a path where Alabama backdoors their way in again? Do you see a path?
With a lot of chaos, I feel like that could happen. And with the committee knowing how they are, yeah, anything can happen. Do I think Alabama should be getting in? No. I think we just need to focus on the rest of the season, use it to build momentum for 2025, keep building our 2025 recruiting class, and that's it. I think we just need to.
Here's the. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think we just need to focus on building for 2025 and the future beyond. I think that's what we need to do.
And here's the thing. Here's what I think will help Alabama if they do somehow back their way in. It's because they beat Georgia. And we can share this with you all now because it has been made official. Georgia is now going to be one half of the SEC championship game in Atlanta on December 8th.
Yep.
Georgia, they're safe. They'll play the winner of Texas A&M. So, because Alabama lost tonight, and because Bama lost, Georgia's now clinched, and they beat Tennessee. So there's no scenario where Georgia does not fall. And plus, Georgia plays Georgia Tech. So, but yeah. So Georgia wins the SEC, Jackson.
I'm glad you mentioned Texas A&M.
Yes, go for it.
It was a wild night in Jordan-Hare. And
yes, it was.
God, it was wild.
I don't know how much of this you watched, Jackson.
A lot.
But this was a fantastic game. And Jackson,
Auburn finally won one.
Yes. I was trying to come up with the right way to say it. Wrong coach. Hugh Freeze finally put the doubters to bed, at least for tonight. They closed off a big time win, and in the process, they spoiled Texas A&M's dreams. Because even if Texas A&M went into Georgia with one loss, not Georgia, get it straight, Austin. If they went into Texas with one loss, they're still in conference play. They would have had 2 overall. There still would have been a great chance that they could have gotten in the playoffs. But now Texas A&M has to win next weekend, not only to play for the SEC, but to keep their playoff hopes alive. So now Texas A&M is forced into a must-win situation next weekend. And, of course, College Game Day will be there. No shock.
Well, yeah, because it is the first edition of the Texas A&M rivalry since 2011. So it makes perfect sense.
And 1-2 says the Auburn game was great. It was. It was one of the best games I've seen all year. And that, I know Ohio State, Oregon ranks up there for a lot of people.
Dave Polanski, come on. No love for Yay, Alabama. I'm just kidding, man. We love you, man. Thanks for tuning in.
And I know a lot of people think Oregon, Ohio State, but man, this game, the Auburn, Texas A&M, that was a classic. That's going to be one of the most underrated games of the year, especially if Auburn beats Bama next week. Oh my gosh, beat A&M and Bama within a span of 2 weeks. Hugh Freeze might be getting some more money in the offseason.
Oh, yeah. Well, not this season. They're going to want him to prove it in his 3rd season.
Now, Jackson, I'm gonna let you tee off on this. What do you think of the overtime rules? Do you like them? Don't
Is
like them? What do you
I
think?
freaking hate the overtime rules that we've had since 2021. Why not go back to the old rules of 1996 to 2018? And if we can't do that, at least go back to where we had it in 2019, 2020, where starting in fifth overtime, you go for 2-point conversions only. Not this. Oh, well, it's like you're trying to make the game shorter. Like, come on. I don't think that it looks like it's for the players, but it's really not. It's really not in my eyes. It's just a good PR excuse. Like they're not really doing it for the players, they're doing it for themselves. Like nobody asked for the overtime rule change to begin with. Nobody did. Not the fans, not the players, not the coaches. Just some dumbass imbecile at the NCAA thought it was a good idea. Just be like, oh, well, we're going to change the overtime rules because of what happened with LSU Texas State in 2018. Yeah. Why is it like every one of these imbeciles make these rule changes that nobody asked for? I hate that crap.
I'll say this, Jackson. I don't know, and since you probably saw a lot of it, but the 2-point conversions at the end there, Texas A&M came up with that trick play and he dropped it. Like it was literally wide open and he drops it. We could have been playing another overtime if he doesn't drop that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's just like, oh my gosh. And in that situation, Jackson, as a coach, you got to be thinking in your head, okay, we got to start to go for twos now because in the third overtime, they go for twos. Like if you're a head coach, Jackson, let me put you in the seat for a second. If you're a head coach, Jackson, are you saving some plays just in case you get to that point? Like, or are you just winging it on the go?
I'm
Like,
saving
what
the
do you do in that
plays.
situation?
Saving the plays.
I would too, or have a couple drawn up. Like whatever your best fourth down play is, use that. Or maybe your best touchdown play. I've heard the old cliche: your best fourth down play or your best touchdown play. That's what I've always heard, and that's what the coaches around me have always said. That's when you use them for twos. But yeah, it was a great game because I I was excited, Jackson, to be honest with you. Even though I'm not a fan of either, that was just an all around great game.
Yeah. It was a wild one.
But go ahead. Go ahead.
And it was a pretty good one for sure. Well, might as well start with go to this one. What's wrong with 4 overtimes? 4 overtime games roll. Oh, you're talking about like you're talking about like the rule change for that's been in effect since 2021 and 2019.
Yeah, I think what he's getting at is, you would think after all that you just mentioned that someone should have won, but when it's Auburn and Texas A&M, they're both incompetent at times. My goodness gracious! I mean, Auburn was up 21-0, and they almost lost. That tells you how incompetent they are. Oh, good grief! Don't even get Johnson started on Auburn blowing leads. He'll have a cow.
They were a disaster. But
B-Bean's checking in on you, Jackson. He wants to make sure you're okay.
Oh, I'm all right, man. It's like I don't know why everybody's acting like. I mean, it's like my team lost. It happens. It's not like I had like a huge loss in my family. It's all good. Like I mean, I've seen enough natty. No. I'm not the
Oh,
guy
boy.
that you need to worry about. I think you need to worry about like the fans that only watch the games, that don't spend all their time looking at the recruiting, the press conferences, everything involving the team at the very least. Like those are the people you need to worry about. You know, like yeah, or yeah. But I'm not one to
Jackson,
worry about. But anyway,
here we go, Jackson.
uh,
Here, it's
I
already
knew that was
started.
coming.
And we
Yeah,
have 1-2 says Indiana is extremely overrated. Played nobody and then get blown up. Should fall at least 8 spots.
it's
Oh boy,
not
here we
like
go.
they lost to Nevada. They lost to Ohio State. But still, Indiana does need to have a really huge win against Purdue, and you know Kurt Sidney's going to get them going.
I'll say this, Jackson. Indiana today, I'll say this. They didn't play their best football. And their special teams today, Jackson, really let them down. That punt return for touchdown, and then they had that turnover on special teams. Like, Jackson, it feels like the special teams would really lost them this game because it was 14-7 at halftime. And I thought, okay, for as bad as Indiana has looked, they're still in this thing. There's still a chance. But then Ohio State put their foot on the gas, and then Indiana just couldn't stop the run. And it's just like 1-2 says they were blown up like a high school team. Oh boy. There are not 12 quality teams to put in the playoffs, LOL. No, this would be the year if this is the best year for the 12 team because the 4 team, oh my gosh, I would love to see the committee try to put the 4 best in this year. Go ahead, Jackson. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I agreed. I don't see how there's 12 quality teams, but it's like we're going to wait and see.
I mean, what do you
Yeah,
think,
USC's
Jackson?
going to beat UCLA. Oh, yeah. We're seeing it happen right now, and USC's taking a knee. Yeah. We know Trojans are bowl eligible. I'm tallying up all the bowl eligible teams right now. It's all good. And Texas beat Kentucky because I mean Kentucky.
Well, Jackson, you didn't give your thoughts.
Ohio
Jackson,
State.
you didn't give your
I
thoughts.
did. I did give my thoughts on Indiana, Ohio State. I think Indiana has to beat Purdue to make sure they're in, and Ohio State, all they really have to do is beat Michigan. They're basically in the playoffs, but they're in the Big Ten title. Next week, we're going to find out a lot as to whether Ohio State can end that losing streak to Michigan. If they don't, well, there's hell to pay for Ryan Day in Columbus.
I agree. With Jackson, if they don't beat Michigan next week, which we'll talk about later on, like you said, oh boy, Buckeye Nation's going to have a freaking meltdown. Because if you can't beat this Michigan team at their weakest, I don't know if you ever will. Because Michigan's going to get better. Let's not kid ourselves. They're going to get better. Like, if you can't beat them now with your loaded roster, you're really in trouble. But yeah, Texas, you beat Kentucky. Do you want a cookie? Shoot. Nobody wants to talk about you, Texas. Shoot. Let's talk about a game that was really good. Penn State at Minnesota. Jackson, did you happen to catch any of that?
I watched a little bit of it when I was covering before I covered the West Virginia postgame show with Frank Fear and Coach Chris. And I saw that fake punt from Penn State that pretty much sealed the deal for them.
Here's my thing, Jackson. I got to give Minnesota a lot of credit. I owe them some apologies. I didn't think they could hang in this game, to be honest with you. I even said that. I was like, Penn State's the better team. maybe for a quarter, and then Penn State's just going to run them over because Penn State's on a mission to get to the playoffs. Minnesota, they hung tough with them. I thought for a second, though, I thought Minnesota was going to win the game because Minnesota scored that touchdown and went up, I believe, 22-16, and I was like, ooh, okay. And then Penn State came down, tied it, hit the extra point, and then, of course, Minnesota kicks the field goal, goes back up, and I'm thinking, okay, we've got ourselves a good one today. And it just seemed like Penn State, like Dave Linsky said, the turnovers. Not ready to mention that, but they beat me to it. The turnovers really beat them today. So if Penn State doesn't get those 2 turnovers, Minnesota might have gotten the W. He said the 2 turnovers cost us. They gave Penn State 6 points off those 2 turnovers. I don't believe in moral victories for the Gophers. Moral victories are for Wyoming. Goodness. That's one way to put it. But what were your thoughts, Jackson?
Well, we knew, for those that watch Minnesota a lot this season, they were going to keep it close with the Penn State Nittany Lions. Especially because I know Mark Rogers himself said this could be an upset right there. And I know he called Ole Miss getting upset, which we'll get to in a little bit. It was pretty wild if you watch Minnesota Penn State. And Dave Valinsky says 2 turnovers cost us the game, gave Penn State 6 points off those 2 turnovers. I don't believe in moral victories for the Gophers. Moral victories are for Wyoming.
He double read what I did, but that's okay. Dave's got his point across now. It's okay. It's okay. Dave's point was heard. But yeah, I'm with you. Honestly, Jackson, I'm with you. I mean, and what do you think about 1-2's point here? Penn State is extremely overrated, just like Indiana. Same soft schedule. What do you think of that statement? Do you think Penn State's overrated?
I feel like their schedule has helped them, yes. But let's be real. They beat Maryland next week. They're in the playoffs.
Oh, no doubt about it. Now, this is a crazy situation, but I want to put this out here. If Penn State and Ohio State, Penn State and Indiana both win next weekend, and Michigan somehow pulls off a miracle, who goes and plays Oregon, Indiana or Penn State? Who gets the tiebreaker in that situation?
Oh, that's a good one. We haven't even thought about that. Honestly, we should have done some research on this one. Tiebreakers.
Because Jackson, a lot of people thought because Ohio State won today, it's all done over. It's going to be the Buckeyes and Oregon. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily, because if Michigan pulls off the upset, we've got a sticky situation on our hands.
Uh-huh. Well, if Michigan pulls off the upset, then Penn State gets in the Big Ten title game because of the record against conference opponents in conference play.
So Indiana mathematically could not get in, could they? Or they would need Ohio State.
They need Ohio State.
Go ahead. You're good. Go for it.
They need Ohio State and I lost my train of thought. Penn State to lose.
So they need some magic to come their way. They need a lot of help. They put themselves in a situation where they got to root for Michigan and Maryland. And before you say it, Jackson, I'm going to steal your catchphrase. Never put yourself in a situation where you need someone to win or lose for you. But that's what Indiana has done.
Oh, yeah. They've done it to themselves.
Dave Linsky Because I got sick and tired of so many Penn State fans thinking that they were going to crush Minnesota by like 30 or 25. So I reminded them about
That
Jerry.
wasn't gonna happen.
And 1-2 says the playoffs should take strength of schedule into account, right? Why do Indiana and Penn State get in? Because they face the easiest schedules of any top 25 team. Well, and I think they've even said it. They base it off your schedule, how impressive you've looked on the field, and they do it based off strength of schedule, how you looked on the field, and who have you played, which is basically strength of schedule. And they do it off whatever else chaos happens in conference champions. As it sits, Indiana's looked the most impressive up to today. That's why I think the committee put them so high, because they've looked the most impressive. Now after tonight, they'll probably drop out of the top 10, and it'll be an overreaction. But nonetheless.
Yeah. And we just
Well,
saw
Jackson,
the final of USC UCLA. USC has won the 2024 edition of the Victory Bell against UCLA. Yep.
Well, Indiana, they have. Washington's got a winning record now. Let's see. Who else? They've beaten Washington, Nebraska, and hold on. Nebraska, Washington. Who else am I missing, Jackson? Have they beaten anybody else with a winning record?
Let's look at it, shall we? Florida International has been dog poop. Charlotte, let's see. They're 4-7. Okay, Maryland, Northwestern. Okay, Nebraska, Washington have winning records. Michigan State has a winning record if they beat Rutgers
Michigan.
next Saturday.
Michigan.
Yep, Michigan. Yeah, so Michigan, Washington, Nebraska, they've beaten them. So, yeah.
So, and if Michigan State wins next week, they would have beaten 4 winning teams.
Oh, yeah.
And B Beans says Indiana's basically played FIU 10 times and lost to Ohio State 1.
Correct.
Here's the thing, though. 6-6 is still considered a winning record, right, Jackson?
Yes.
It's 500 still considered. So even if Nebraska and Washington blow it next week, those will still be winning records. Same for Michigan. I get where you're going, but yeah, good job, USC. You want a cookie? Shoot. And I'll say this. Good job, Miami. You worked close with Wake Forest. Good job. I know they were the next team up. Good job, Miami. You didn't need Cam Ward to throw 4 touchdowns and make a miraculous 20-point comeback. Shoot.
Yep. And we saw USC getting a victory against UCLA for the 2024 edition of the Victory Bell. How you feeling about that?
B Bean says the field is so poor, Indiana deserves to be. Jackson, everyone wants to talk about Indiana tonight, so let's talk about them. I know you want to talk about USC.
Fine. We'll talk about Indiana.
Because everyone's ready. I agree with B Bean's point. The field is poor, and this will correlate. We'll correlate into all the others, but everyone keeps shooting themselves in the foot. So Indiana's almost more likely going to have a spot waiting on them. Plain and simple, because the SEC can't get their foot out their mouth. I'm looking at you, Ole Miss. We'll talk about you in a second. Jackson, I tried to warn you about Lane Kiffin after winning a big game. I tried to warn you.
You're right. Like Iowa State Tech all over again.
I tried to warn people. People thought I was stupid for almost picking Florida to win. I tried to warn them, but okay. Anywho, back to. I didn't catch any of the USC game, but
They're
good
now
win for
bowl
them.
eligible.
Yes. And 1-2 says the Big 12 is getting robbed because they actually have so many good teams. I think Indiana wouldn't survive an average Big 12 schedule. Oh, Lord.
Oh yeah.
Oh, boy. Look, let's just put this to rest right now. Indiana is a good to average team that had a poor scheduling communication. We all can agree on that. Let Indiana have their moment because Indiana rarely ever wins 10 games. So let them have their moment. They're not better than Ohio State. They're not better than Oregon. They're not better than Penn State. There. Now can we talk about the real winners here? Like Iowa.
Yep.
No.
Well,
Iowa.
Yep.
Go ahead, Blake. Go ahead.
Iowa, yeah, you beat a pitiful Maryland team, which I mean that was gonna happen, so you're supposed to. But Illinois Rutgers had an exciting end. Rutgers calls a timeout to ice the kicker, but then Illinois has a 40-yard touchdown reception. 4 seconds left in the game. Boom, they get it. So, yeah, no one gives a fuck about Iowa. Oh my God,
Dave, just for that, you put $5 in that swear jar. No hostility towards Iowa.
Nah,
I get it. It's rival. I know he's kidding, but Jackson, I understand there is kids watching this programming. I mean,
what kids?
Oh my gosh. That's a good question. Dave, I get it. You don't like Iowa. Rivalry week's next week. Well, anything goes next week. But right now, we have to talk good about Iowa.
Yep.
But yeah, go ahead with what you were saying, Jackson.
Well, I was gonna say that Illinois Rutgers had a pretty wild ending, and Illinois still has a shot to get a 10-win season, so that's gonna be pretty cool for them, especially with a shot of victory against Northwestern and a victory in the bowl game. So that'll be cool right there. And what do we have here? Michigan clinching bowl eligibility with a 50-6 victory over Northwestern. And guess who ends their losing streak today? Gets their first win in November? The Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Jackson. Whoa, Jackson, you're moving too fast. Jackson, do you not realize what monumental moment this is? Michigan scored 50. Michigan scored 50
against Northwestern. What are they supposed to do?
Jackson, we should say. Yeah, they need a cookie for that. We need to celebrate that. It's like Jackson watching your child get potty trained for the first time. This is a big accomplishment because Michigan's offense has been so putrid.
I want to see games like that against Ohio State, not against Northwestern.
My grandma could score 50 against Northwestern. Oh, gosh. Michigan should have saved some of those points for Ohio State. Nebraska rushed the field. It was hilarious. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Jackson, it's finally over. The curse is gone. Nebraska can go bowling now. Take it away. Rejoice, good buddy.
Well, our buddy Justin Adams was super stoked. He was super stoked on today's edition of the Nebraska post-game show because Nebraska is bowl eligible for the first time since 2016. And
Jackson, the Scott Frost.
And I know it's like to a lot of you, it's not a big win, and I understand that. But Nebraska ended a long losing streak to Wisconsin, which dates back to the 2012 Big Ten title game. The last time they beat Wisconsin prior to today was on September 29th of 2012 in week 5. And remember, this is the second year of the Matt Rule era. Magic is beginning. Next year, you're really going to see the magic happen in Matt Rule's tenure at Nebraska. Because, like, we saw it at Temple, we saw it at Baylor. We're going to see him make a lot of magic. Go ahead, Austin, about
And
Scott
Dave,
Paul.
well, before I say that, Dave Walensky says for Nebraska, this is huge. People don't understand. I want to put this out here. If you're a team that is a program that you expect 8-9 wins every year, you may think of Nebraska going bowling as like what's the big achievement with that? Like you won 6 games. You got to understand what Nebraska has been through. Their fan base has been through heck and back. And Scott Frost, you know how many blown leads and blown games has he had in his era that Nebraska could have gone bowling. And for Nebraska, this is huge. They should celebrate it. I'm happy for them. We finally get to see Nebraska in a bowl game again. Like, I know, like, for programs like Louisville, especially, like, Louisville, we pretty much go bowling every year. Like, but I understand for a program like Nebraska that has not been very good, for them to get bowl eligibility and a chance to play for a decent bowl game because they're in the Big Ten, it's huge for them. It's a stepping stone. So I'm really happy for Matt Rule. Now, going forward, should 6-6 be the expectations every year? No. No, you should be able to take the steps up. Maybe next year get 7-8 wins. And then maybe 5 years from now be competing for the Big Ten. Like, make it baby steps. You don't have to make a big leap in 1 year. But at least you're going bowling now, at least. And Dave said, what's the most likely to happen in Matt Rule having a 10-win season, one season next year, or Fickle getting fired next year at Wisconsin? Whatever Nebraska's schedule is, I'll get back to you on that. Because if they have to like play the gauntlet of Oregon, Ohio State, Michigan, I would take the latter of that option. Jackson may disagree with me. Wherever he went, but I'm sure he'll be back. What do you think, Jackson? There you are. To Dave's question, what do you think is going to happen first?
Matt Rule having a 10 win season.
So you don't think Luke Fickell will get fired?
No, everybody's throwing the baby out with the bathwater in Luke Fickell. I mean, who are you going to get better? That's what I want to know. Give me 10 candidates right now, and if they look better than Luke Fickell, then I'll hush on Luke Fickell getting fired. Be like, okay, fire him.
I've only got 3 candidates off the top of my head. But here's the thing with the 10-win season for Nebraska is it all depends on scheduling. Because if they get like the gauntlet, like if they get like Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon.
Well, they got Michigan coming to Lincoln next year. They got USC coming to Lincoln. They got Iowa coming to Lincoln. They have to go on the road to Penn State. They have to go to Minnesota, Maryland, UCLA. They don't have Wisconsin next year. There's no Ohio State. There's no Oregon. The non-conference looks pretty cream puff to me. They got Akron, HCU, and they start the year off with Cincinnati. And what has I been saying about Cincinnati? Cincinnati's freaking mediocre. So I think Nebraska will be fine.
If 1-2 says if Nebraska gets an Indiana type schedule next season, they'll get 11 wins. Yeah, in the Big Ten, I don't expect teams to get that schedule every year. But as you were saying, though, Jackson, go for it.
Well, hardest road trip is Penn State, but that's pretty much it. I mean, Minnesota's another tough road trip, but I mean, you're really scared of Maryland and UCLA. I mean, okay, scratch that. UCLA, Yep, they'll get revenge against them.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a bad schedule, but I wouldn't pick them to win 10 games. But that's neither here nor there. We'll approach that bridge when we get to the preseason next year.
Oh, I'm glad we mentioned Michigan State. Here, Cookie, go away, Michigan State. But
you beat Purdue. Congrats.
One win from bowl eligibility.
Shoot, Michigan State. Good job.
Let's get to the rest of the SEC. Florida had a wild win against Ole Miss, and Ole Miss just blew it again.
Yeah.
You warned
Jackson,
me.
Jackson, what do I always tell you about Lane Kiffin after a big win?
He blows it. He blows it. He sucks.
Yes. Jackson, as soon as they beat Georgia, I'm thinking, and everyone started talking so good about Ole Miss, how they could be a dark horse playoff team, how they could sneak in the SEC title game. I was like, yeah, y'all are gonna. Don't you bet on Ole Miss? Don't you do it? And what happened? They got burnt.
Yep. It was a disco inferno
Jackson,
for the Ole Miss Rebels.
Jackson, could we see Florida go 8-5 with a win over Florida State and a win in a bowl game? Could we see Florida go 8-5 in a year where Florida was picked to maybe win 2 games at best?
Well, Florida State's horse dung, and the opponent, the bowl opponent, all depends on who it is.
Jackson, think about that. What was my preseason prediction for Florida?
You had them at 8-4.
What did I say? Just imagine they win the next 2 and they go 8-5.
Yeah.
And everyone thought I was silly for making that prediction. But this is what Florida does. When you expect the least out of them, they do their best. Now, next year, people will be like, oh, Florida might win 9 games, and they'll underachieve and go 5-7.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. One dude's asking who would win Florida versus Tennessee. Where's the game at? Number
Florida,
1. It's in the swamp. If it's in the swamp, I would go Florida. Florida's a tough team to beat at home. Yeah. If it's in Indiana, I'd go Indiana.
Yeah. That's a good one right there.
Because that's a long travel for Florida.
But Billy Napier's done a fantastic job. Just like, well, DJ Lagway saved him basically.
Here's the thing, Jackson. Even before DJ started playing, Graham Mertz was doing all right. He wasn't tearing up the world, of course, but he's not as mobile as DJ Lagway. That's what really made this Florida offense into the next gear. It's the fact Lagway can extend the play. He can keep the play going with his leg. He's more mobile, and it adds another dimension to their offense. Whereas Mertz, he's like, okay, he can get you a 5-10 yard scramble here and there, but he's almost like a statue in the pocket. And that's what really hurt Florida. We saw it in the Miami game, and we saw it in a couple other of their games. But then when Lagway came in, they had a different juice to them. They almost beat Tennessee, Jackson. I mean,
yeah, but they
had Georgia on the ropes there.
Yeah, I mean, like they either always almost beat Tennessee or they beat Tennessee. Like you expect that from Florida, but you were mentioning that Georgia, they were having it close with them. That was the real kicker.
And then Lagway gets hurt, and then that goes tumbling downhill. But since Kiffin can't beat Gators, we know what. Okay, I'm sure he'll go back to Alabama. Jackson will take him back.
Nah, he's happy at Ole Miss. Nobody's going to complain at him for not having an SEC title there. They're just going to tell them how much they love them and all that stuff. But
I will say this before we move on, Jackson. Before we move on, I want to give Florida credit. The fact that they're going bowling is a testament to the team itself because they were able to weather the storm. They got dealt a bad schedule, and they were able to weather the storm. I'm proud of them. And for Billy Napier, you know what, Jackson? He might be the SEC Coach of the Year. I'm saying that right now. Like, how many coaches, Jackson, do you know would have survived the Florida schedule? Maybe 3?
not a lot.
There's like only 3 I can think of that would have survived that schedule. Kirby, Sarkisian, maybe Ryan Day. You think Ryan Day would have survived Florida's schedule?
Yeah, probably. Just enough.
What about DeBoer?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
Dan Lanning.
Yeah, Lanning probably would have made it out. I'm trying to see. Is there one more we could throw in? Yeah, I said Stark. I was going to say Lance Leopold, which we'll get to that in a minute, but but you get my point. Not many coaches would make it out, but good job, Georgia. You beat UMass.
You know what's funny? UMass scored more than Clemson, Kentucky, Auburn, Texas, and Tennessee against Georgia. That's funny.
Yeah, and 1-2 says Tennessee beat a high school team. Congratulations. Yeah, this was Cupcake Week. South Carolina took care of business.
Team. Oh, we got another one. Oh, wait, that's a conference game. My bad.
Missouri took care of business. Arkansas, good job. You want a cookie, Sam Pittman? Now shoot. You're going bowling too.
Arkansas. LSU beats Tennessee. Yeah, of course.
LSU beats Vandy by ooh. Jackson, good for you. Jackson's like, that's enough for you, Brian Kelly. Shoot.
You defended him. He's your boy.
Jackson, I ain't defending Brian Kelly no more. I'll say that right here, right now. I'm done with him. We can skip past this if you want. Because every time I try to stick up for that guy, he screws me over.
Someone that's not going to screw you over, Arizona State. Do you see the way that game ended? Do you see that ending?
Well, first off, Jackson, I want to give us props because we both called it Wednesday night. But yes, I saw the way it ended. Like, go ahead, good buddy, take it away.
Like when Arizona State's QB was just throwing it up in the air just to make sure the game, just like boom, game clock 0. Wait a minute, there's 1 second left. BYU's ball. And that Hail Mary pass that happened. And BYU was just short. Yeah, he caught the Hail Mary pass. But he was just short. And it was another dilly moment of Kenny Dillingham.
Jackson, you left out the most important part of that whole thing. The fans stormed the field before it was over. And they tore down the goalpost.
Yeah. They always do that.
Literally, if you watch the game, they literally ran out the field and was tearing the goalpost down. And I'm thinking, and it took 15 minutes. Oh, gosh.
1-2 makes a pretty good point.
Intentional grounding, delay of game, fans on the field, the horse collar tackle, and the Hail Mary catch. I mean, here's the thing: can you penalize a team for having fans on the field? Like,
Yeah.
I know they'll probably get fined big money for that, but can you actually penalize them like within the game?
Yeah, you don't remember 2012 BYU Utah?
I know. Honestly, I don't remember that.
Note to self, I need to send you that game, man, because I can tell you right now, that was a wild ending. Like, it took like 7, 8 times trying to end it, because like, oh, we're gonna start the field. Oh, we baby, woo! It's like, no, no, penalty on Utah, penalty on Utah, offsides. Okay, boys, go back. It's like,
Yeah.
oh well, we got 45. Hey, who's got 35? I thought you had 45. I got 50. I got 40. It's like, yeah. Yeah. Unorganization, gentlemen. Unorganization. Come on. Organize yourselves.
But the thing, too, I want to mention about this is Arizona State, Jackson. What an incredible 1-year turnaround they've had from going from 3-9 to 9-2 and being 1 win away from a possible Big 12 title berth. Kenny Dillingham might have just clinched Coach of the Year in the Big 12.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's no question about it. And 1-2 mentions Chaz Roberts caught that Hail Mary pass on his feet, was yanked to the ground by a horse collar tackle. Wasn't even down. He was on top of an Arizona State player. Each of you who we will get to our top 5 in probably in a few minutes, I believe. But we'll definitely have it ready for you.
Okay.
All right.
I got mine, but I know Jackson. Let's get the elephant out of the room.
All right.
Kansas wants to play football. Your Jayhawks want to play football all of a sudden, Jackson? Where was this?
Apparently, they're the first team in history of college football to beat 3 straight ranked teams in all of college football with a losing record.
Jackson, you picked this team to win the Big 12 in your preseason.
Right? Yep.
Explain it to us. What the heck happened?
What I did.
Like, why would you? Like Jackson, you were the one bragging about Kansas, so you need to explain this to the people here. Like, why did it take them this long to figure it out?
I think the attention got too much for them, and they had so many injuries. That's what happened to them. I think they've gotten all healthy for November.
Because Jackson, because of Kansas, the Big 12 is still up in the air. Over a course of 3 weeks, Jackson, Kansas has ruined Colorado's season potentially, BYU's, in the course of 2 weeks span.
Yeah.
And Kansas, with a win next week, will be bowl eligible even after everything that's happened to them.
Yep.
And 1-2 says, I don't care what anybody says. The Big 12 has a lot of good teams and are being overlooked because they're so competitive. I agree. I think the Big 12, top to bottom, is the most competitive league in football. You know, a lot of people want to say the SEC. Talent-wise, yes. But if we're talking play on the field, it's the Big 12. Like Kansas, has standings-wise, is one of the worst teams in the Big 12, and they beat 3 ranked opponents 3 straight weeks. In the SEC, that's not going to happen. The Big 10, that's not going to happen. Only in the Big 12 is that going to happen.
Yeah.
B Bean says, yep, Kansas lost 5 straight games earlier this year. That's right, because they lost to UNLV. Is that where that losing streak started? UNLV?
Illinois,
okay. But did you happen to catch any of the Utah-Iowa State games? Speaking of crazy endings.
I did. I caught a little bit of it. It was a fantastic finish again for the Iowa State Cyclones. I mean, fantastic finishes have been the name of the game for Iowa State. It did catch up with them against Texas Tech, unfortunately. But fortunately, the Cyclones are still in the Big 12 title race. And, Kansas bailing out Iowa State with a victory over Colorado has helped them, because I'm looking at the tiebreakers from the path to the title game for each team from Bill Bender at Sporting News. BYU basically just needs to win next Saturday against Houston, and they're going to need two of the other three teams to lose, like for Colorado to lose or Arizona State to lose, and Iowa State to lose next week against K-State.
So as of right now, Jackson, what would be if all the favorites win next week? Who would be in the title game? Who controls their own destinies?
Arizona State and Iowa State both get in if all four of these teams win their games next Saturday or next Friday, because this is Black Friday. Arizona State and Iowa State both get in.
Okay, 1-2 wants us to put our feet to the fire. Okay. You want to do it first, Jackson? You want me to put mine out first? I've got mine.
Oh, Lord. Might as well go first. The way things are looking, honestly, I think the pressure's going to be too much for Iowa State for right now. I want them to beat K-State. I'm just not seeing it. I think it's going to be Arizona State and Colorado getting in.
Okay, so we have a little bit of a difference here. I got BYU and Arizona State in a rematch.
Arizona State and who?
I think they're on a BYU. I got them on a collision course for a rematch in the title game.
So you think that Oklahoma State is gonna beat? Oh, okay. So if we have a three-way tie between BYU, Colorado, and Iowa State, if three of those teams win their games and Arizona beats Arizona State, then we see a BYU Iowa State conference title game. Let's see.
My heart wants Colorado.
Okay, here's what you're hoping for: a three-way tie. So you think BYU, Arizona State get in? You're going to need to see Arizona beat. No, not Arizona. You're going to need to see Kansas State beat Iowa State. Is what you're going to need to see.
Because Jackson, you get the feeling sometimes when you see the two teams play, you feel like they're on a collision course to meet again. And today, I feel like Arizona and State and BYU on a collision course to meet again. I really do. Because I feel like the way that game played out, I feel like we're on a collision course to see that again.
Yeah.
And 1-2 says that BYU wins and Iowa State or Arizona State loses, the BYU is in. They're on a collision course to wackiness. That's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this is pretty wacky trying to get everything figured out. It's like, oh, man.
So, Jackson, if you want to, at the end, we can update people. We do know some of the teams that are going to be playing in the conference title. Like we know Georgia, they're a lock. Tulane Army, they're a lock for the American. Oregon will play the winner of either Ohio State, Penn State, or Indiana, any one of those combinations. And SMU's a lock. Other than that, we can't tell you much.
Yeah, because if Miami beats Syracuse next Saturday, they're going to play SMU for the ACC The Big Ten, it's going to be Oregon versus Ohio State or Indiana or Penn State. And I mean, we're going to see Jacksonville State versus Liberty or Jacksonville State versus Western Kentucky. But I mean, Liberty beat Western Kentucky today, so they're good to go. The MAC tile game could be Miami, Ohio versus Ohio or Ohio versus Bowling Green. Boise State could be playing as UNLV or they could be playing as Colorado State. The winner, Texas A&M, is going to play against Georgia, obviously. And the Sun Belt is basically going to be Marshall versus Louisiana.
Yeah, so the only conference, as we could tell you right now, that we do not. Oh, go ahead, buddy. Go ahead.
If Marshall beats their conference opponent on rivalry.
So what we're telling you right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So what we're telling you right now is the only conference that is still up for grabs is the Big 12. Most every other conference, you either have the title game as a lock, or the games next week will be the winner goes in, the loser's out.
Okay, Buffalo. Davey, you mentioned doesn't Buffalo have a chance? It's pretty slim. Let's see. They didn't play Bowling Green. They didn't play Miami, Ohio. They lost to Ohio. Yeah, they're pretty screwed.
And 1-2 says it's possible that the Big 10, Big 12, and SEC championships are all season rematches. Yep. Because if Texas wins, it'll be Texas, Georgia. That'll be a rematch from the game they had in Austin. The Big 10, of course, Ohio State and Oregon. And then the Big 12 could be a combination. Could be BYU, Arizona State. Could be Colorado. No, Colorado hadn't played either of those. So if Colorado gets in, then we won't have a rematch. But yeah.
Yep.
But speaking of the Big 12, we just got so fascinated with the conference title games. TCU Jackson is rolling. Sonny Dykes looks like he's got him going, got him balling.
Yep. Arizona's been disappointing, but oh well. His first year of the Brent Brennan era. Texas Tech, Oklahoma State. Ugh.
Texas Tech surviving.
West Virginia won a tight one against Central Florida. Was this Neil Brown's last home game, or does he get that vote of confidence?
Real fast, Jackson, to 1-2's point, is TCU still in this mathematically?
Yeah, but it's more like a 1% chance.
And I guess Texas Tech is mathematically too?
Yeah, it's like apparently Baylor West Virginia, and we know obviously Kansas State's still in it, technically.
Oh jeez. I
know.
Oh my gosh.
No.
The Big 12 really, Jackson, they're gonna make us work overtime, aren't they? Trying to break these scenarios down for our people.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Anywho. Oh Lord. What a mess. I mean, West Virginia wins a good one, but what's the future looking like for Malzahn? I mean, he's obviously getting a vote of confidence this season.
Yeah, more than likely. And Neil Brown, he's probably a dead man walking.
We just don't know when yet.
Dave Aranda, of course, has written the ship, so to speak. Baylor fans are happy with him again.
Don't even say that, 1-2. Don't even say that.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh.
We need Jesus.
Listen, we love Listen, we love you guys, but don't put that energy out there. You're going to make our job harder. Like, it's Thanksgiving week, guys. Come on. We're trying not to work overtime here. Like, we love you guys, and we thank you for supporting us all year long. But my goodness, me and Jackson want to enjoy Thanksgiving without having to think about the darn Big 12 at family dinner. Be like, oh, honey, what are you doing? Oh,
I
I'm just
mean,
mathematically trying to see how
oh
Baylor's
yeah,
going to
there's
get
gonna,
in.
there's gonna be like that one relative on like Thanksgiving where it's gonna be like, oh, when do I expect this or that? Like, oh, when do we expect the grandchildren? It's like, we're working on that. Like, good grief.
We have jobs to do, and that's the thing too. Not to get too off topic, it's be like, it's just like, oh my gosh. But yeah, go
But
ahead,
we know
Jackson. Go
Georgia
ahead.
Tech's not gonna have to work. I mean, that was a humongous win by Georgia Tech. I mean, they got lucky against NC State. Did you catch that from Thursday night?
Yeah, I caught bits and pieces of it. That game was wacky as wacky could be. I mean, goodness gracious. This is what college football is this year, Jackson. Teams just winning in wacky ways.
Well, Miami, for once, did what they're supposed to do. Showed their opponent a thing or two.
Yep. And SMU took care of Virginia in quick fashion. So they could be on a collision course, and Clemson played the
title
Citadel.
game.
And Clemson playing the vaunted Citadel. Oh, jeez.
Good God.
Syracuse survived a tight one.
Good night, Dave. Thank you for tuning in.
Don't worry. We'll be on sooner next week because I don't think Alabama's going to have another night game. I hope.
Oh, man.
Know that.
No. Yeah, we'll be on sooner because I mean Alabama Auburn's on at 2:30 my time, so it's Alabama Auburn post game will be 6 to 6:30 my time.
Yes, so we won't have this late night. Boston College, Jackson. They ran North Carolina out of the building.
North Carolina. I mean, they're just miserable.
I should have listened. To you, Jackson. They're a disaster.
They're a disgrace and a disaster. Not as bad as Florida State, though. We've used up all our energy on that team. They suck. Go. Oh, the band's all over the field.
Jason O.
There we go.
Jason if you're still here, congrats.
There we go. The band's all over the field for Cal, beating Stanford 24-21 as they clinch bowl eligibility, and the band's all over the field for Louisville smacking Pittsburgh off the face of the earth 37-0. Austin.
I'll be honest with you, Jackson. I took a nap during that game. I didn't see nothing. I was so tired I took a nap.
Dang, that's working hard.
I did. I was like, I was out. I woke up and it was like 24-0. I was like, okay. I try not to nap during college football season, but you can't help it sometimes.
True.
But yeah, it was good. It was a good win. I caught most of it. I had it recorded, so I went back and watched it though. And it's a pretty good win. But we beat in many people's eyes an overrated Pittsburgh team. And they were banged up. So it's a good win. I'm proud of the team. Now let's beat Kentucky for the love of God. Beat the Cats, please.
I agree with that. I do like seeing. I want to see the Big 12 do that. Like, just schedule everybody really good, and I think everybody in the power comps, they need to do more. That they need to schedule more of each other as well. But that's
Yeah.
another discussion for another day. Duke, Virginia Tech winning 31-28. Virginia Tech still alive for bowl eligibility.
Yes. Duke is now 8-3, and Jackson Manny Diaz is 1 win away from a 9-win season, possibly 10 in his first year if they win the bowl game. I see bright things in Duke's future.
Oh yeah. So
But
that was a wild one. Jacksonville State beat Sam
yes,
Houston. Liberty beat Western Kentucky. Okay, App State stunning college football world. Not really. Good grief. This was not a good slate this week.
but Jackson, you want to know something that is good?
There is one game. I knew there was one game I was missing. The 2-pack game.
Yeah, I caught the ending of this. Oregon State spoiling any chance that Washington State had of getting a good bowl.
Mm.
Yes, Oregon State. Good. Congratulations, Beavers. Enjoy it.
Yep. They're your
But
2-pack
Jackson,
champion.
But Jackson, you want to know what's good and wholesome?
Mm-hmm.
Thanksgiving week. You know, get to be with friends, family, and you get to talk to us a day earlier because instead of us coming on here Wednesday night like we normally do, we're going to move it up this week. Tuesday night, be here for the Picks and Analysis show at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern, 9 Central, 7 Pacific. Be here Tuesday night this week for Hate/Rivalry Week. So if you're a Michigan fan and you want to hear us talk Ohio State, come on in. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk Alabama, Auburn. We'll talk Louisville, Kentucky. We'll talk Penn State, Maryland, I guess, if you want. Even though that's not really a rivalry, but we'll talk about it. We'll talk about Oklahoma, LSU, even though that's not a rivalry. We'll still talk about it.
Yeah.
Because it's rivalry/hate week. We're going to talk about everything. Talk about every possible title contender outcome. We're going to talk about it all. And we're going to do it on Tuesday night this week. That way we can enjoy Thanksgiving and not be up to 4 a.m. talking about Penn State, Maryland.
Yep, and we
gracious,
can hear,
yeah.
Yeah, because it's like it'll be a wild one. And Austin, what have we got going on this week?
Well, Jackson, I'm glad that you wanted to do that. But Jackson, good buddy, you are what makes this engine goes. Good buddy, and you've got a bigger week than I do ahead. So let's talk about your week first. We'll talk about mine second. I'm a peon. You're the big guy over here because you've got Auburn week coming up. I mean, who better than Auburn week?
Well, for Auburn week, I'll tell you one thing. We've got to, we're down from that 24-3 loss to Oklahoma. Not good. But we can still claim something, be the best in Alabama with a victory over Auburn. Prevent them from going to a bowl game. Keep our winning streak in Tuscaloosa over Auburn going. That's what we got to do. And, not only that, but you can also check out Auburn Week on Crimson Tide Live Monday afternoon at 5 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Alabama with the Voice College Football. And it will also be simulcast on the on the Voice College Football X account and much, much more. And we will be Johnny Burts and I will be having the editor of Touchdown Alabama himself Stephen M. Smith. And we'll be having the Auburn equivalent of Corey Bratta, the creator of E2C Network, Kyle Loomis, as we'll be going over our take on what's going on with the Alabama Crimson Tide, the Auburn Tigers, the keys to victory for each team. And at the end of the show, we will go over our all-time favorite Iron Bowls in the history of the rivalry. Our top five list, like from each of the panel. And you'll love it. That I can guarantee you. And you can check me out on Jackson Johnson 979, where I'm 113 subs away from that magic number 500. And for more, where I not only do the Final Whistle with Austin, Pitt's analysis show with them, I've got back to doing the college basketball recap preview show. A name is to be determined with the one and only himself, Will and D, as we go over the latest in all of college basketball, the latest games we recap from the weeks previous, and we go for the preview for the upcoming week above. And let me tell you, it'll be fun, especially covering the Maui Invitational. Let me tell you, it'll be a fun ride. And you can check out more of my updates on Jackson VOCFB on X and on Instagram and Threads at Jackson Johnson 543-908 for more updates on what I'm doing with my personal channel on Jackson Johnson 543 Jackson Johnson 979 and the Jacksonian and on who I'm having on there. And you can check me out on Alabama with the Voice College Football. Austin, what we've got going on?
So this week's going to get a little crazy, y'all, so strap in. It's Thanksgiving week, it's rivalry week, it's Black Friday. Strap in, y'all. It's going to be a busy week. It's going to be a fun week. And, of course, like I said, Tuesday night, me and Jackson will be here for rivalry week picks Tuesday night instead of Wednesday. And then we will be back here Saturday night for the final edition of the regular season of the Final Whistle. Because then, folks, it becomes playoff time, bowl mania, conference title games. It's going to be all over the place. Me and Jackson, we're not done by no means. This is not going to be our goodbye song. Not until we have a champion crowned. Then it'll be our goodbye song. But till then, get used to seeing our beautiful faces. We're going to be here a while.
Goodbye song. You made it sound like it's Bear in the Big Blue House. Oh, man.
I mean, it might well be. I mean, let's go out with a bang. Let's go out with a bang, so to speak. But that's what I've got going on in my life. And, of course, you know, I'll be watching the Cowboys on Thanksgiving, being disappointed. But at least Jackson will cheer me up on Saturday when we talk college football. But, yeah, that's what I've got going on.
With that being said, we wish you all a good night. Stay safe, stay cool. Like, comment, subscribe to each of our channels. Click on the notification bell so you never miss another video whatsoever. And we will catch you soon. Stay safe, stay warm. It's cold out. Go Cards and roll tide, everybody.
Go Cards. Go Cards.